Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 1st of March, St. David's Day and the first day of spring, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at Bitcoin, big upside targets here on the daily chart. Looking at the 60-minute chart, we see here the targets as well. Really quite interesting because with the targets pointing into the future, you do end up looking more over this side of the chart than over that side of the chart. But if we look here, we see that we have got this trading range going on with Bitcoin, and that is really the message right now. And we can just place levels there, 64,000 and 58.35. So 64,000 exactly was the high point reached on Wednesday. And so really just watching this range now and watch for any new targets kicking in. And of course, if you're trading Bitcoin, you're going to see those targets kicking in on the shorter term charts, the 1 minute and the 10-minute charts. You can use the targets there and you'll get a heads up. So that's Bitcoin. Looking at the Nasdaq, we are seeing here also just waiting for this upside target to activate. Again, a little bit of a trading range. This 18,090 level, pretty key. Then we activate a new upside target to 19,500 nearly. So really looking quite strong there. And if we look at the S&P future, we see that we have already got this target here in train on the daily. And again, we're just waiting for this upside target to activate. So really quite key. In fact, yesterday was the first February 29th that the S&P closed at an all-time high. So it only happens once every 4 years, and it was the first time it was an all-time high in the leap year. So quite fascinating. Looking at the other markets, we look at the FTSE in the UK. We see here a bit of a tussle going on here, waiting for this long-term upside target to activate. Markets starting to think about the budget next week in the UK, so that's going to be quite key. If we look at the cash market in Germany, the DAX, we see we've got quite a range opening up here, and that's also, notice how this target was given on the 13th of February, then we had a sideways move, we activated the target with this jump, and that's where we've got to. The target is bold when it's in train, it turns less, it goes from bold to just normal once it's been met. Target has been met, so that's quite interesting there on the DAX. Japan, we are seeing here upside targets again, so really looking quite strong there. And if we look at China, we had that bounce in China. We were hitting cloud resistance on the lagging line there on the daily chart, and again we've got this upside target just struggling at on the Shanghai Composite at 30.32. So that's the level that we've got to break through. So it is a sharp recovery, and you do get these counter trend moves and downtrends, previous downside targets met. So really, again, quite interesting. The Aussie market, we pointed out yesterday, we were seeing new upside targets there, and we've started marching towards those. So that's looking pretty strong. This target was given a long time ago in December, back at 7,100 to 7,745, 7,760. We're at 7,745. So the target has nearly been met. Took a little bit longer than predicted, but it's happened. So really interesting there. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Taking a look at gold. Gold has suffered a little bit with this Bitcoin rise. A lot of the risk money going more towards cryptocurrencies almost, but we are seeing here waiting for this new upside target. Double targets gives us more confidence of a target area, so just waiting for that target to be activated. It's been given with that thrust. We've just got to now see it activated, so really quite key there. And looking at US 10-year yields, we had the inflation number out yesterday, a little bit better than expected. So we still do have these upside targets in train. Had a little bit of a tussle going on, little upside target. If we move below the reaction low yesterday, this 420 level, 4.22 is really important. If we move below that, we activate a downside target back to 408 for US 10-year yields. Taking a look at the energy mix now, we start with Brent crude. Upside target this morning activated. We've had a move to the upside, just waiting for this target to activate at around $84 to $100 for crude. We are coming through the clouds, so crude is starting to look stronger. We had rollover today as well, so it's quite interesting. We've had to roll the chart there on the 60-minute to get meaningful targets. And you should roll your charts, obviously, because that will exaggerate any move if there's a jump to a new contract. WTI, we're seeing the targets here. That's the move this morning. This one target in place for the upside here to $91. So again, not quite through the lagging line there yet. So really quite interesting. US Nat Gas. Looking more bullish again on the short term. We still do have the big downside targets on the medium term chart. We're waiting for this target to activate to 213. We've got targets to 2 and 206, a new high above 192. That's the intraday high that we saw yesterday. But this 190 level, move above 190, we activate to 213. So that's going to be really interesting as well. Taking a look at coal, we do still have the downside target hanging over us on the daily chart. Lots of downside targets were on the 60-minute chart. This last one not quite met. That was given at 102 to 84. We got as low as 89. We're now seeing a recovery. We're not through the cloud yet on coal. We are on emissions and gas. We'll look at those in a minute, but we're not through the cloud yet. But we do have this upside target to 107, 5% away, and we are seeing a return, a bounce off the bottom, as we are with most of the energy mix. So looking at emissions, looking first of all at European emissions, quite interesting here. We've got the downside target to 44.72. We got as low as 51. That's still hanging over us, and we are below the cloud. Notice the last time we had a big recovery in carbon price, we then had a sell-off, generating another thrust. We had a new target activated on the 60-minute this morning, back to 49.60. That's 11% lower. So really quite interesting. Really, emissions is now in a range, $51 to 51 euros to 58 euros on the European carbon contract. That's the levels we've got to watch now. If we can break higher, then we can say it's a recovery. But of course, whilst we're in this range, we've got to wait and see. And this range could go on for quite some time. Looking at the UK carbon contract, this has been quite interesting as well. We've given a downside target this morning, some 8% lower. The range here is now 33, 37, 75. Waiting to see if we can actually activate this upside target on the daily chart. But we do have these downside targets hanging over us, multiple downside targets, suggesting that really this recovery doesn't have legs. So really quite interesting there on the UK contract. Looking at gas, TTF. Now remember, I'm looking at the daily and the 60-minute. This is my medium term and my short term. You can look at the 10-minute. You can look at the 1 minute. And you'll get to notice here, yesterday we had these upside targets given yesterday at just after 4 o'clock, and they were met this morning around 8 o'clock. So interesting to see that. We pulled back. We have another new upside target on the 1 minute in train. So you've got to keep an eye on these shorter term targets if you're trading gas. But interestingly, we are seeing the upside targets there, although this downside target, but this new upside one is the latest one. And you put a bit more potential on the latest target, and we're above the cloud, so you'd favor these upside targets for gas. We went out as bullish to clients first thing this morning. So that's TTF. We can actually look at summer. So summer gas, we see here a similar picture here. Tussle, the targets, very similar chart as well. And if we look at NBP front month in the UK contract, we see much the same picture. Downside target to 35 pence per therm, but we are seeing here potential upside target, and we've got a new one waiting to activate this morning, just lagging TTF a little bit. Of course, if you're trading UK gas, you've got to really look at TTF. So let's look at power markets. First of all, we're looking at German power. Tussle the targets here on the short-term chart. Again, I can go to the 10-minute. We've got this is the picture on the 10-minute with the targets, and if I go to the 1 minute, if you're really trading it and we went out as neutral to clients this morning because we had targets in both directions, so it was really hard to read either way. But the reality is we are still bearish on the daily. Now on the 60-minute, we've got this range, and we've got to really now see this 67, 76, 77 range. There's a 10 euro range on power. We've got to really wait and see what happens there. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Until Monday, happy charting. Bye for now.